As hard as this may be for you to imagine, there are so many people who, without a GPS, without Siri, they couldn't find their way out of a paper bag. And chances are, you know several people I'm describing. But if you're watching this video, at least you've heard of the city, the suburb of Southlake, Texas. And if you haven't, Southlake is what many consider as the Beverly Hills of Texas. In our DFW Metroplex, we're talking homes to the wealthy, the celebrities, the professional athletes on the roster, and those that have retired. But because people are so directionally challenged, they know these facts about Southlake, but they have no idea where Southlake is. And that's what I'm going to do in this video. We're going to take a look at several maps to get an idea of where Southlake is. So you'll have not only perspective of where Southlake is, but the things that you can do in and around Southlake. And as a realtor, I hear this quite often because we definitely want to show you where Southlake is, because I've had people say, oh, Southlake, yeah. And they're thinking about South Fork. You know, the TV drama Dallas with J.R. Ewing, that's not Southlake, that's South Fork. And then I have people, I think they're just being cheeky and they think they're cute and they think, oh, South Park, really? You know that's a cartoon, right? So whether you're confused about a cartoon, a mini series about Dallas, or anything with Southlake, we want to show you where Southlake is so you can get a better perspective where it is. So if you're thinking about living in Southlake, you'll have the scoop on where you're going to go and how you're going to move around. Are you ready? Southlake is home to about 31,000 people. And Southlake overall is considered a conservative area. Although, if you speak to the conservative people, they probably feel as though Southlake is becoming more and more liberal. But let's face it, we're in America. What place is not becoming more and more liberal? To each his own. I'm not going to even go there with you. Well, now we're going to take a look at some things that you're going to be able to do, explore, and enjoy in Southlake. Now, let's take a look. The city of Southlake is predominantly in Tarrant County. However, there is a little extension of Southlake that's in Denton County. And what I want to share with you in this particular map, because if you're anything like me, you like to have a perspective where you kind of know where things are, but you really want to know what surrounds a particular area. It's just a visual thing that many people appreciate, and maybe you do too. So let's just start with what I would describe the wealthy suburbs that surround Southlake. So that's the real important thing to know, that if you're in Southlake, you're kind of cushioned between other communities, cities, suburbs, towns that are also very wealthy, and in some cases more wealthy. But let's just start with the town of Westlake. And yes, I did say town, it's not a city. Westlake is home to the uber wealthy. And there are less than 2,000 people who call Westlake home. I describe Westlake as the crown jewel of Texas. It's very rare and very exclusive. And then next to Westlake is Trophy Club. Trophy Club was our first premier community, planned community in the state of Texas. And Trophy Club, trust me, they can hold their own when it comes to wealth. Highly educated population, highly wealthy area that surrounds Southlake. If this is your first time to this channel, subscribe below and hit the like button. And we have some more I want to point out to you. We can't forget Keller, because Keller is right next to, they share the same boulevard to Southlake. And honestly, the people who live in Keller could very easily live in Southlake. Some of them are just as wealthy and just as financially secure, but they choose to live in Keller because Keller, for the most part, is a lot more diverse than Southlake. And by diverse, I mean, yes, ethnically diverse, culturally diverse, financially diverse. Keller is a city. So you don't have that homogeneous feel in Keller as much as you may feel it in Southlake. So there are areas of Keller that would rival Southlake. But again, to each his own. People of Keller have just decided that's where they want to live and raise their families, live their lives, and create their memories. Now let's move on to the next suburb which is Colleyville. And Colleyville, let me tell you, when you are in Colleyville, when you cross over the city limit, you're going to feel as though you're in a Hallmark movie or some kind of rom-com of some sort, because Colleyville has a canopy of trees, opulent acres and estates. It is so beautiful. Now, Colleyville is more diverse than Southlake in some regard, because there are sections of Colleyville where you just have great, wholesome, working class families. But there's also a section of Colleyville that's very exclusive. In fact, it's hard to get around, meaning that if you don't have a purpose to be there, it's not going to be easy cut through Colleyville to go to your next place. If you're there, that's because you're supposed to be there, you need to be there, and you are there for a reason. And I'm sure that's by design. Our next suburb near Southlake, that cushion Southlake, is Grapevine. And in Grapevine, you're going to also get that vibe of a rom-com, romantic comedy, or a Hallmark movie, because historic downtown Grapevine, well, that's where you're going to have the beautiful boutiques and the nice, unique experiences with dining and shopping and seeing so much history right there downtown Grapevine. So as you can see, Southlake is insulated and surrounded and cushioned by great wealth. Now here's a bird's eye view of Southlake and how you're going to move around in, through, and around the city of Southlake. Well, let's begin with one of the major streets that goes through Southlake, and that's Southlake Boulevard. Well, let's back up a little bit. Remember that Keller is very close to the city of Southlake. So if you're on Southlake Boulevard, depending upon which direction you've come from, if you've come from I-35 West or Highway 377, then you had to go through Keller Parkway. And Keller Parkway will eventually, the same street turns into Southlake Boulevard. And Southlake Boulevard will eventually get you, and you will run into Highway 114. Highway 114 is very significant if you live in Southlake, because it's your closest place to hop on to get to Dallas and get to some other major cities in our DFW Metroplex, especially if you came here for employment. If you're starting your business, chances are at some point your car is going to find its way to Dallas. And one way is to get on Highway 114, and 114 will connect you. Eventually, it'll get you to Highway 121, and from Highway 121, you can go a number of ways to get to Grand Prairie, Arlington, Dallas, one of the other cities, bigger cities to Southlake that you probably are going to get to know fairly intimately. And if you live in Southlake, eventually you'll also become very well familiar with I-35 West traveling south. That will get you into Fort Worth. So if you find that you're commuting to the Fort Worth side, then absolutely you will be traveling on I-35. So whether you're going on the Dallas side or the Fort Worth side, word to the wise, invest in a toll pass. There's no way you're commuting to either of these cities, even on a semi-regular basis, without access to our paid roads, because you definitely don't want the free roads, because there's a price to be paid for free. So just invest in the toll pass and you're on your way, because otherwise you have to pack a lot of patience to just go 5 miles. Don't forget, subscribe below. The other freeway that you will get to know, and it's not going to feel like a big freeway, because if you're expecting the flyovers and multiple lanes like freeways, you're going to be disappointed. But you're going to locate Highway 377. Highway 377 will eventually connect you to the other roads that will feel more like a freeway. Other freeways like Highway 170, which connects you to Highway 114, which will connect you to 121, that would get you over again to our Dallas, Grand Prairie, Arlington, and other bigger cities in our DFW Metroplex. Now let's talk about the things that you're going to do if you choose to live in Southlake, because I have a sneaky suspicion that you're going to do more than just hop in your car and drive to Dallas or Fort Worth, or just to commute back and forth. At some point, you are going to go and explore. So here are a few few points of interest and things to do in the city of Southlake. Now, this is not a Southlake docuseries or documentary. I'm not going to cover everything there is to do in Southlake. I'm going to hit some of the highlights. But if you're from Southlake and you're very familiar with Southlake, if there's something that I didn't cover in this video, because we only have a limited amount of attention span that people will share with us, please comment below and let us know some more interesting spots that we have to go explore. The people who are moving to Southlake, we don't want them to miss out on anything. So I'm just going to hit some of the major things. And one of the major things here in the city of Southlake that you will absolutely enjoy is Southlake Town Square. And Southlake Town Square is where you're going to find a lot of shopping and dining. In fact, Southlake Town Square has about 100 stores and boutiques. There are about 21 restaurants. You know, you can get your pop in, pop out, something fast, a little side. You can eat outside and just enjoy, all the way up to some fine dining to right there in Southlake. And there are also some brownstones of Southlake. So this is where, if you want that lifestyle where you can, you know, just walk outside your front door and you're in their parks and you see shopping and dining because you're right there at Town Square, then these condos, the brownstones at Town Square, may be the ticket for you. Now let's talk about the size of these condos so you can get a perspective of it. Those range from about 2,600 square feet and they go all the way up to about 3,800 square feet. And they're very, very nice condominiums there that you can enjoy right there if you want to stay really close in to Southlake Town Square. The next, we have Bicentennial Park. You're going to absolutely go and enjoy that, especially during the holidays, 4th of July. This is where people go, they gather, they watch the fireworks go off, and they show up hours before it's even dark enough to light a flame for the first firework. But they go, they gather, they enjoy family and friends. And Bicentennial area is also home to baseball fields. It's one of the largest, Southlake's largest parks. Liberty Gardens, of course you have pickleball complex. I mean, no town is complete, it seems like, if you don't have some type of pickleball complex. Well, you won't be disappointed there. And you also have your tennis center and public art. And what you'll notice is the biggest piece of public art in Southlake is Fury. And Fury is the largest stainless steel dragon that you probably see, well, in the entire country. Speaking of parks, well, we have got to acknowledge Bob Jones Park and Nature Center. Now, this is where you want to really lean in. Bob Jones is such a significant figure to the city of Southlake. If it were not for Bob Jones, there may not even be a Southlake. That's how significant he is. And I challenge you to do your own research on that. Remember, we're not doing a documentary on Southlake, but it is absolutely worth you doing your research to know how prominent of a figure he and his family were to Southlake. Okay, so moving on through Bob Jones Park and Nature Center. Here's what's so significant about the location. The Nature Center is a unique opportunity to explore the Cross Timbers ecosystem. The Nature Center is surrounded by more than 700 acres of this cross timber, and there's 20 miles of hiking and exploring that you can enjoy right there at the Nature Center. I know what you're thinking, Tracy, wow, hiking, wow. Well, thank you very much for the offer, but that's just not what I call entertainment. Maybe you are more, into the golfing. That's your, a great game of golf is your idea of hiking, going from hole to hole. Well, if that's the case, you won't be disappointed. Right here in Southlake, you have Timurin Country Club. And if you live in Southlake, chances are you have friends who live in other cities and suburbs that you can enjoy checking out their clubs and courses as well. Keller has Sky Creek Ranch Golf Club, and Westlake, remember Westlake is for the uber rich, so you'll know you enjoy that. Westlake has Vancouver Golf Club. So we've covered shopping, we've covered hiking, we've even covered golfing. And of course, we talked about the tennis and the pickleball. But let's just say, Tracy, I don't care about any of those things. I'm a water kind of person. If you enjoy water, well, then you absolutely will have to go to Grapevine Lake. And Grapevine Lake is where you are going to enjoy your water sports, just hang out at the boat, hang out on shore. There is hiking you can do there, but you've already mentioned that's not what you're interested in. So let's move away from the hiking. But you can get a cabin out there, and it's really fun. It's a really great place to do all kinds of activities, picnics. Right there at Lake Grapevine. In certain sections of Lake Grapevine, you can go horseback riding. There's just so much you can do right there near the city of Southlake. And the lake is only 14 miles from Southlake. Okay, speaking of miles from Southlake, this is where we're going to pivot to the idea that you're not going to be barricaded inside your own home. And you're not going to be confined to just the city limits of Southlake. I have a feeling that you're going to gas up the car and go explore the things to do around the city of Southlake. Well, let's talk about that now. One of the closest places that you'll go and explore to Southlake is the city of Grapevine. And remember, Grapevine is where you're going to have that historic downtown to walk around, and you're just going to feel like, you're escaping from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. You're going to go and it's going to feel like you're transported into yesteryear and just enjoy the boutiques there. And so the city of Grapevine is only 7 miles away from Southlake. And the lake, well, that's only 14 miles from Southlake, because typically you're going to have to drive around to get to the lake area. So that's about 14 miles from Southlake. And there's no way you're going to live in Southlake and not spread your wings and go a little farther out than your general area. You're going to hop in the car and you're going to drive to Dallas, which is about 24 miles away from Southlake. And Dallas doesn't need a lot of introduction, doesn't need a lot of hype. Dallas is Dallas. That's where you're going to see sophistication on a global scale. Great dining, great shopping. And there are parts of Dallas that you could actually just out and enjoy and just kind of hang out, listen to jazz, listen to a lot of great things. Dallas has got a lot of great things going for it, but just be ready to lace up your shoes and move at a much faster pace. And when you finish enjoying Dallas and you're ready to take a breath and relax, then just drive back home to Southlake. And let's say Dallas is great. You're going to Dallas. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But you might go to Fort Worth, which is about 24 miles away from the city of Southlake. And in Fort Worth, this is where you're going to quickly learn, is where we celebrate our Western heritage. Fort Worth is where you'll see real live cowboys on real live horses driving real life cattle to the stockyard. And you can see that multiple times a day. Western heritage, I don't want you to think it's just a bunch of cowboys and country people. Yes, that exists. But you also have the wealth that's involved with the Western heritage. You have so much sophistication there in Fort Worth. You have Sundance Square, top dining, top experiences right there in the city of Fort Worth. And if you got kids, if you got children, well, you might as well go to Fort Worth and enjoy the Fort Worth Zoo, which is one of the top ranked zoos in the entire country. Well, I trust you enjoyed our map tour and hopefully gave you a better perspective of where Southlake is in relations to the rest of our wealthy suburbs and how you're going to move around, which highways you're going to hop on to commute for work and just to enjoy your life. Because if you're like me, sometimes you'll need a little visual representation to kind of connect everything together. Hi, I'm Tracy Sorrell with the DFW Life, and as a realtor, I realize you can find a lot out online, but sometimes you want a little bit more than just square feet, bath, price of a home, and where major things are located. Sometimes you want to know how to move around a particular area, suburb, or community. And that's where I come in. I spend time with you. Sometimes I hop in the car and we drive around and we listen to people who live in particular areas. And if you like that VIP access, subscribe below and press the bell. You'll be notified anytime anything goes down around our DFW Metroplex. And if you're thinking about moving, whether it's 9 days or 9 weeks, comment below, give me a call, pull one of those one-on-one consultation links so together we can better realize if Southlake, Texas is the best place for you to create your memories and call home.